Call to order the September 11th, 2025 workshop meeting of the Downers Grove Park District Commissioners. Roll call, please.
Mr. Bender.
Here.
Mr. Dahlstrom.
Here.
Johnson. Here. Mr. Lunt.
Here.
Ms. Welch.
We can stand and face the flag, cite pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I ask everybody to remain standing. Ladies and gentlemen, today marks the anniversary of September 11th, 2021 attacks, a day that forever changed our nation. We remember the thousands of lives lost in the tragic attacks, and we honor the courage of first responders, the resilience of survivors, and the unity that brought us together in the days that followed. As we reflect on this solemn occasion, I ask that we take a moment of silence in remembrance. Thank you. You may be seated. Mr. Braun, any changes to the agenda? Item number A5, recognition of commissioners requesting to participate remotely. Commissioners, we do have a request from Commissioner Walsh. Commissioner Walsh is absent due to work-related obligations and in accordance with the Open Meetings Act and district policy has requested to participate remotely, as this constitutes a qualifying reason for remote attendance and a physical quorum is present. A motion to approve Commissioner Walsh's remote participation would be in order. I ask for a motion.
So moved, should she?
And let the record reflect that we're still waiting for the commissioner to log on. Is there a second to the motion?
I second it.
We have a first and a second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Bender.
Aye.
Ms. Johnson.
Aye.
Mr. Dahlstrom.
Aye.
Mr. Lunt.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Item number A6, public comment. Is there anybody here from the audience to give a comment? Hearing none. Item number B1, recognition of visitors. Any recognition of visitors? None whatsoever. Okay, item number C1, 2026 ADA improvement schedule. Mr. Brown.
Thank you, President Lund. Tonight, we have several capital items that we'd like to discuss, including some ADA improvements. Last year, Paul File, our Director of Planning and Construction, went through a multi-year plan with the board. And tonight, he'd like to update on the 2026 improvements that are proposed as part of that report.
Thanks. Thanks, Eric. Yeah, so we have, as Eric mentioned, our transition plan for us to be in compliance with the Americans with Disabilities Act. That was essentially a survey or an audit of all of our facilities to identify any physical barriers to our parks and facilities. And so we've also, over the last several years, budgeted funds from our special rec levy to help us fund some specific improvements to help correct deficiencies or barriers that were identified in the transition plan. So we've had about $100,000 budgeted each year. And so we're just looking for consensus this evening on kind of the list of projects that we're proposing to do next year so that those can be put into the budget. We have a little bit of extra funds this year or proposed for next year. This year, due to some timing issues and some design issues, we weren't able to complete all of the projects that were on the list that were proposed for this year. So we are carrying over some of those funds. The one big one there is the Spring Park, the gravel pathways in Spring Park that we had intended to pave. Once we got into the design, we realized it was a little more complex in terms of engineering and stormwater. That's going to require a permit. And so we'll be working through some of that later this year with the hopes of them being able to do the project next year. So that's, again, re-budgeted in the list of projects for next year. So just looking for consensus this evening on the proposed budget for this, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, Paul, great job with, and Constitution Park is one of them where it's just a lot of good work bringing ADA compliance. Commissioners, any comments, concerns, or? Okay, with the commissioners to move on to the general consensus?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you. That will be built into the budget that will be presented in October. The second item of business tonight is the McCollum fitness equipment. Over the summer, we've had a number of discussions on how we are going to approach McCollum Park's renovation. This included some of the fitness equipment proposed. At one point, if you recall, we put forward some different opportunities for fitness that included the fitness grant that was proposed. At that time, we presented that we decided to go in a different direction and research some more opportunities for the district. So I'm going to let Paul go through a couple of opportunities that he looked at and what his recommendation is at this time for the fitness equipment at McCollum.
Thank you. Just get this going here. Thanks, Eric. So this is our existing fitness equipment at McCollum Park. And, as you know, the area that's adjacent to the playground. There are about, I believe, 7 pieces there now. We had more pieces previously, but as this equipment has started to wear out and break, we've had to remove pieces. And that's partly due to the fact that the brand of equipment that we had purchased at that time, again, in 2012, is no longer in business. And so we're not able to get replacement parts for these. So we're looking at essentially replacing the equipment within the same footprint. So within that, we have that sort of oval shaped area there by the playground. When we were discussing the National Fitness Campaign, the fitness court, during those discussions, Commissioner Johnson brought to our attention like another type of equipment that was called FitLot. And that one is similar business model to the National Fitness Campaign in that they try to get communities to kind of do fundraising and that kind of thing. But I looked into that equipment, and as I was looking at it, I realized that the equipment itself that's provided through FitLot is actually manufactured by Landscape Structures, and that's a company that we're familiar with. They manufacture playgrounds, and we have some of their playgrounds throughout the district. So we looked at that equipment a little bit. I got the footprint of this exact what they call their health beat circuit, essentially that has pieces kind of going around in a circle. The footprint of this was too large to fit within our existing oval that we have, that space that we have. But we wanted to try to recreate, see if we could recreate some of the components that were shown in this. And so we reached out to Landscape Structures for pricing and a design for, trying to include some of those. The design we got back, we felt was a little lacking. They came back with a proposal of 6 stations up for this brand. The total cost was going to be $46,000. And then we, asked about warranty. The parts that I think care most about are the moving parts, the bearings, because that's what's going to wear out the quickest. And they have a 3-year warranty on those. At the same time, we were also talking to Greenfields, another company that they make exclusively fitness equipment, outdoor fitness equipment. And so we did get back design and pricing from them. And we feel like is a much better option that they were able to include quite a few pieces. There's a total of 11 stations that are included in here, and that the cost for these would be $39,000. Their warranty on the moving parts is a little bit better, 5 years, still not great, but it does give us a couple more years of warranty on those parts. So staff is recommending moving ahead with the Greenfields product. So in the board pack, there was some additional information attached to the memo showing the individual pieces that we're proposing. We're including some of the same pieces that we had before, like the elliptical. That's always been a popular piece out there. But then also we have had requests in the past for a few more of the static, non-moving things like a pull-up bar. And so we're including some of those as well in the design. So these guys didn't provide a fancy 3D drawing like the other company did. So this is just, some of their equipment, pictures of some of their equipment that we would be looking at including it in the design.
So I want to thank the board for a very healthy discussion on this over the summer. I know we've talked about it a lot. Paul went back, and when he was looking at this, he was looking at not just cost, but how many people could serve. And I know there was a lot of concerns making sure ADA was covered, seniors were covered, all generations were covered. I want to thank also Commissioner Bender for recommending some of the more static items that we did include in this, like the pile boxes and the pull-up and dip bars. Hopefully this brings back what the board was looking more for in this inclusion, and we're open to any discussion or thoughts the board has on this.
Thank you. Commissioners?
Yeah.
Thoughts?
I did want to say thank you for including the dip bar, the pull-up bar, because that, some of that other equipment, if you're a more fit person, you're not gonna use some of those other equipments, but anybody can do dips and pull-ups and the steps, the boxes, the steps that people can jump up and down on. So I think it serves a broader range of people. But I know that one of the advantages of the other option we looked at this summer was that everything was static. And I know that Kevin's team has had to fix a lot of the old equipment that was there over and over again. So I guess my question is for Kevin, do you have any reservations about going back to more moving pieces?
I think having a few moving pieces are okay as long as we're able to get parts. I mean, the bearings on the old units, it was typically probably about 3 to 4 years when we had to start replacing. And then that was the issue, was they stopped making the equipment and we weren't able to replace it. So, and it's not hard to replace it. It's just, it's just we weren't able to get the parts at that time. So I'd be okay with it, adding the moving equipment. I think if we didn't add the moving equipment in there, I think we would, a lot of people use what's out there currently. So I think having some is good, but I like the stationary as well. But I don't think it doesn't take, a lot of resources to repair it. It's just getting the parts.
So we're not committing ourselves to a lot of labor, or the 5-year warranty sounds really good. And when I did open up my packet this week and saw this, I was like to myself, I was like, oh, this is really kind of what I wanted the whole time. So I was really excited to see it. And I know that Commissioner Walsh isn't here. So at the risk of talking for her, she and I did have a conversation about it, and she was very pleased with what the result was. So she shared that with me.
She's supposed to be coming on.
I will say, I think that this does also it's similar to the equipment that was put in the first installation. And if you remember, that installation was entirely funded by a donation. A resident who donated the funds for the entire fitness area was a single donation that a person made in 2012. And he's no longer with us, but I feel like this equipment kind of honors what he was intending this to be. And, obviously there was a lifespan to this type of equipment. But, for us to be using kind of similar equipment, putting back in, similar to what's there now is, I would say, honoring his original contribution.
It serves that same population and
Sure.
more populations now.
Right.
Giselle is joined.
Okay.
And how long has the company been around? Greenfield?
Greenfields has been around since 2007.
Okay.
But they're a popular for the fitness equipment.
They're also.
They've been in a lot of parks.
IPRA and NRPA. They're at a lot of events. They're at conferences displaying their equipment at NRPA upcoming. They'll be one of the main displays probably on the floor.
Yeah, I really like this as well. Thank you. I think, it's what I was kind of looking for as well. I like the location under the trees. You don't really need that canopy.
Right.
And yeah, I think, it is being used now. And so I think this will serve, like Commissioner Bender said, this population. So thank you.
Well, can you just touch on the surface that we would lay down?
Oh, sure. As part of our construction project, the overall McCollum project, the plan would be for the park district to purchase the equipment, like we're doing with the playground equipment. We'll purchase it, supply it to the contractor, and he'll install it. In our bid for the overall project, we would have a base bid, would have just the wood chips like we have today. And then we're hoping to do an alternate bid to actually make it the synthetic turf, similar to the playground.
Synthetic turf makes it far more accessible for the ADA.
It does, correct, yeah.
I see, and needs that demographic.
I think that would certainly be a nicer surface and a nicer look. If we can, once we get the bids in, then we'll know.
Great, thank you for mentioning that. My second question is, does Greenfield offer an extended warranty option?
I do not know. I can ask that question.
Out of
I
curiosity.
did not see anything as I was researching the warranty. I didn't see that mentioned anywhere.
Okay.
But I can ask.
Thinking like it,
Greenfield.
they have like extended warranty where they can come out and the equipment.
Yeah, right. Allow us to replace under the extended warranty.
Yeah. Excellent question. Commissioner Walsh, just to catch you up to speed, we're on item number C2, McClellan Park Fitness Equipment. I was wondering if you had any comments, concerns, or anything?
She's muted.
Thank you. Thank you for including me on the conversation. I'm delighted by this amendment to the plan for this fitness center. I'm also really delighted to hear about the turf that we're putting into, and the location was great. I was delighted to see it in the package, so thank you.
Good work by staff and the board members. Excellent job. Are you looking just for consensus or?
Consensus so that Paul can continue moving on.
It'll allow us to put this into the plans that are going out to bid soon, but also then we will bring to the September board meeting authorization to purchase.
I give my go ahead and it's fine. Commissioners? Commissioner Walsh?
You waved down.
Aye.
Okay,
Hi, yes.
excellent. Item number C3, Mr. Brown.
Thank you. This is the 2026 capital recommendations. Paul's worked with a number of directors on this. Consulted previous plans, consulted some of the spreadsheets that we have for our parking lots, for our playgrounds and such. And it's a 5-year plan. What would come of this in the first year would be then added and included in the budget. The second year would be part of our tentative 2027 budget that we always have estimates on. Then we'll have the 5 years filled in within that. What you will notice is that there's some more facility items in this one. Kevin recently completed a facility analysis, and these were the items that he and Paul discussed as the priorities over the next 5 years. That worked in well within our 5-year ability to fund them. Paul kept it at about 1.5 million a year as we have in the past, and I will turn it over to him to start going over that detail.
Thanks, Eric. Yeah, so tonight we just want to go over our list of capital projects that we're proposing for next year, as well as 2027. So just the next 2 years projects. First one is our big project for next year, the McCollum project that we've been talking about for months and months now. So obviously this one is budgeted at 2 million. However, we have offsetting that with the $600,000 state OSLAD grant. And then there's $150,000 of developer donations that we received over the past year or two that we earmarked for this project. So again, going out to bid later this month for the project, awarding it later this year, construction starting early spring, hoping around March, and then completion of the project in July. And so that's the playground, renovating the horseshoe courts, including the adult fitness that we just talked about, adding the new shelter, and then some shade structures as well. And feel free to stop me at any time if you have questions about any of these individual projects.
Really quickly, Paul, can we
Yeah.
jump over to
Oh, sure.
Dawn? I wanted Dawn just to mention, we had a post this weekend, this past weekend on McCollum Park, and I think she received a lot of feedback.
Yeah, so we had, we just did kind of an announcement about the equipment that we are planning to purchase and some of the decisions that were made at the last board meeting. And we had almost 500 likes on that post, which is just crazy. I mean, we haven't seen engagement on a post like that in a while. There were 61 comments, lots of people tagging their friends and family that maybe live in the area, and just really great feedback saying that, you know, they're really excited to see the playground, especially. I think parents are excited about the height of the playground structure as well as that track ride. And then just lots of feedback on the shade structures that have been selected. So I think the parents are especially grateful that we're considering shade as part of that project. So really great engagement. And then also some dribblings of feedback about future playgrounds, which I know is with our agenda for tonight. But yeah, definitely a little bit of feedback on some of those priorities as well. So overall, there's a lot of excitement about it.
Response that we had. It's just really to thank the board, you know, that's been a motivating factor for all of us. So this is really looking to be a good project.
Sharing that.
Don? Also at McCollum Park, another project that we talked about a little bit at the park tour in June. When we were out there was converting the center section of tennis courts into permanent pickleball. So this project would be again, taking out the tennis posts and nets, adding permanent pickleball to have 8 courts there, similar to what we have now in the at the South Bay, and recolor coding the whole surface. Some of the information we had, again, staff did some monitoring and tracking of use of those center courts over the summer months in 2024 and 2025. And I believe the number that we had from this year during the summer months was that during staff observations, 98% of the time, those middle courts are being used for pickleball on the as temporary with the movable pickleball nets. As part of the same project, we also were wanting to discuss with the board. It's at a later date, but we have had requests from a lot of our pickleball players are asking for shade. So this would be just inside the courts where people will stage as they're waiting to play. People tend to wait just inside the fence along the west edge there by the playground. And, you know, we have a couple of little trees that we've planted along there, but they have a long way to go before they're going to provide any shade. And so the thought would be to, on the inside of the courts there along that edge, we purposely left some space along that edge because we knew people would queue along that edge, that we would look at maybe putting in a shade structure similar to the ones that we're doing in other parts of the park, something that would provide some shade along that edge. But again, that would be something that we could discuss as we get into the project a little more next year.
Shade's becoming more of a discussion within Parks and Rec. You're seeing locations like Naperville that has it over some of their stands. You've seen locations that have it over their actual playground sets to keep them cooler with the heat, especially in the southern United States, but it's starting to make its way more up this way. So this would be the perfect time if we were going to add shade for Paul to do that project, because there could be some drilling in.
It'd be similar to the work they'd be doing to convert the middle courts. They have to cut into the asphalt and drill footings and things. So it's similar type of project that we have at work.
Benches there?
Not on the inside.
Should we?
There's benches just outside. We did actually create space. We've got like 3 benches right outside the entrance, a little plaza there. But again, a lot of people, I think, bring chairs and sit on the inside. We could consider some kind of seating, whether it's, I mean, we could consider like a small set of bleachers. There are things that we could add in there.
People don't wait on the outside. They wait.
Generally, what we see is people will wait on the inside.
Especially if they come in groups or such, they're with their friends, so they stay inside. And so
I mean, if it's full and the line is already full inside, they may have to wait outside or go to the middle courts with the temporary courts.
But does that make this now the time to add benches inside, since we know that that's how use has been adopted and we're always drilling it? I don't know how much of an impact it has on the budget.
I think we would need to look at, again, how people are using it, if benches would be useful or something else, like I said, or bleachers or.
I brought this one specifically forward just because we've had so many. Paul's been probably receiving these weekly, bi-weekly about the shade.
The players have been emailing.
But so the same people that are emailing you aren't saying, and can I sit down in here?
No, I've not gotten any requests for.
Presumably, if they did want to sit down, they would let you know by now.
would expect they would.
The morning crowd, that's the one, they bring their bag chairs. And they set it up and that, but other than that, I haven't seen others, they're not really sitting. It's mostly in the morning that seems to be they congregate on the south end.
Now, Paul and I did talk, we do have a perfect individual we can talk a little bit more about this with, that is often out there on the pickleball courts, that's a former board member. So we could have more conversation with him too about kind of what he's seeing when he's out there in those mornings. But the main topic has.
I just don't want to overlook the benches and then a year later, we're like, oh, now we gotta drill into it again.
Yeah, that's something that if we were gonna put permanent benches, then anything that we would be putting in a concrete footing, that would be the time to do it.
So let's get some ideas on that too.
Yeah.
Or, yeah, I guess if you're, I'm not saying to do it, I'm not over there, but,
Would there be any concern? The only thing with benches, and I understand where you're going with it, but I'd be concerned with the safety aspect, somebody chasing the ball or something like that. The concern is how close those benches are to the actual courts, and if you have some overzealous player, run right into the bench. I'm not saying that, but just as a question.
so yeah, maybe it's really a bad idea. altogether.
Is it any regulation?
Derma has guidelines on that. We've had them out here in the gym to look. And we exceed the recommendation. So I think in this case, if that was proceeded, we would follow the Derma recommendation as well. No, it's like 7.
And we purposely left actually a bigger space along that west edge. I think there's like 15 feet or something like that. It's more on that edge because we knew that people were going to be congregating along that edge. Yeah.
We've got plenty of space.
It's the same issue with the shade structures because they will have their own posts that we can try to set them closer to the fence and have it kind of cantilevered, but there will be some kind of post to support those. But again, that would be pretty far outside of the typical play of the outside edge of the courts.
But the inside was always concerned because they're out there. They take this seriously.
Yeah.
Run right into the bench or something like that. And whatever Derma would recommend, I would,
It'd be interesting to know if we could use the fence post as the post for the shade structure, both on the interior of the court as well as the exterior, and put 2 benches on either side of the fence line.
The challenge there is that those fence posts were not designed to have that load. They're designed for the
New fence. I was thinking.
take out the fence post and replace with, okay.
Correct. Connect the fence to the post that would be put in. Aesthetically,
Possibly.
that's fairly pleasing.
I think we'll explore some more options for
Yeah.
this meeting with shading. And we'll bring that back as we talk further with the board in the coming months.
And another possible piece of the same project would be the basketball courts in McCollum do need to be color coded. And it's the same color coding that they do on the tennis courts. So if we're paying a contractor to do those, it might be worthwhile getting an alternate price to color code those basketball courts as well. Moving on, so another project we're proposing for next year, we're adding another playground moving one up. That's Concord Square Park is our next one on our list that's due to be replaced. This one was installed in 2001. So it's one of our older playgrounds. And again, here we would do similar to what we've been doing recently, taking out the mulch and replacing with synthetic turf and addressing any ADA barriers that might exist at that park. And one parking lot next year. So our next parking lot on the list that is due to be replaced is at O'Brien Park. And so this one was was last repaved in 1997. So we've gotten a lot of life out of this one. It is in pretty rough shape. If you see that picture on the right there, the amount of cracking that we have going on there at this time, but so we would be repaving that lot. And then a couple of other capital considerations, things that are in the budget for next year. We're proposing to put money in again for some architectural plans. This would be rec center plans. We've talked about some reconfiguration of this building, this facility. And then we thought also the interpretive center, considering we should have our Lyman Woods master plan that's going to be completed later this year that may have recommendations for expanding that facility, then the next step would be to have an architect do some designs for that and drawings. Then if we wanted to seek funding, grant funding, we need sort of developed plans typically for the grant applications.
So this is something that Bill had started earlier in the year and it got set aside at the time. We did have some preliminary talks with some design companies regarding Lyman Woods and regarding closing off that back cement area to create about double to triple the size of room space for all our programming there. And then for the rec center remodel, and just kind of getting some ideas, designs as Paul said. So those dollars were originally planned to be spent this year. They're in our goals list. How quickly the board wants us to move forward with that will be one of the things we're looking for. With this, do you want Paul and I to start pursuing some of these in the winter months? Do you want to hold off till next year? There are dollars available. As Paul said, these plans are really needed if we're going to seek any grant money out there for them. For example, the park cycle, the park grant, there is no exact cycle. It's not an annual type thing. So those come available basically when there's money in the budget. So as we talk further about capital, I just wanted to lay that out there for the board that the timing of this can be flexible. It can happen sooner if the board wants to move forward, or it can happen later throughout 2026.
And then we typically have some, we put in some contingency each year, just for unexpected items that might come up, or if projects, might go over budget, to help us with that. Vehicles and equipment. So Kevin has 250,000 in next year's budget in 2026. And then I think we're looking at increasing that in the following years. But one more year of 250. And then we'll have the ADA improvements that we discussed earlier this evening. So that is everything we have proposed for next year. And then in 2027, just to touch on the projects we're proposing for that year, we have our Dorhofer Park tennis and pickleball courts. So these need to be completely resurfaced, which would mean, or renovated, which would mean actually tearing up the existing courts, the whole surfacing, and starting from scratch essentially with all new asphalt surface. And we would be adding under drains under those courts to help alleviate some of the drainage issues that we've had there, and replacing the fencing as well. We could, as part of this project, look at reconfiguring a little bit. This is the layout today is 4 tennis courts and 2 pickleball courts. These were our first 2 pickleball courts that we had in the district. And so we could, if we feel like the demand is there, we could change this to 3 tennis and add 2 more pickleball there on the right side if we chose to. But again, this is a project we're looking at for 2027. So we have time to consider that and discuss that later, but just something to keep in mind as we move forward with that.
Do we see much pickleball play over at Dorhofer?
So we used to, when we first built them, they were busy. There'd be people waiting to play there.
So recently I've seen quite a few people playing that.
Sounds like if you build it,
Yeah.
it'll come.
Yeah, it seemed like once McCollum was done, everyone congregated there, but they're very busy, so people are starting to congregate other places, so.
I feel like I asked about this before, and we had said that Dorhofer wasn't getting a lot of use because everybody was at.
Once McCollum was open, kind of everybody wanted to go try those. Yeah.
And we do have pedestrian counters at both entrances at Dorhofer right now.
Oh, yeah.
So the next board report, I got the counts that are on there, but I can highlight that.
Yeah,
That's good if you guys want
you
to
see like the development over the
Right.
summer or something like that, like how it's going, because I guess I want to make sure that it's worth the money to redo the Dorhofer courts to the extent I know I'm the one who made it, that other surface that was cheaper and didn't feel like it worked well for a tennis ball at least.
Sure.
I still haven't played pickleball in my life. I have to do it at some point, but I just want to be sure it's getting used enough that it does make sense to do a complete overhaul of the courts of it.
And do we still have tennis lessons for kids there or adults?
They're at Dorhofer.
They're at Dora.
Yeah, we moved them out of McCollum on purpose. All the lessons are actually at Dorhofer.
So we will need a couple tennis courts.
Yeah, I think I personally, I wouldn't recommend converting any more than just one more tennis. Because then it would leave us with 3 at least.
Commissioners, do you have any questions or further questions, concerns? Commissioner Walsh, do you have anything to add?
At one point, the high school was using our tennis courts for some of their competitions and things. Are they still using them?
No, the only reason they used them was because they were actually doing their tennis courts.
Oh,
And so now that they're back up and running, they have enough space at their facilities that they don't need to use our courts.
got it. Thank you.
A few other projects real quick, just that we're proposing for 27 would be repaving the pathway at Eversold Park, an 8-foot wide pathway that was 1994. It's having a lot of cracking and issues there. So due to be resurfaced, and then there's some slope issues that need to be corrected as well. Adding a playground to 2027, we would look at doing Randall Park would be the next one on our list. That one was from 2003. And then there's some work we need to do with the border of it. For some reason, this playground what was put in, they did use timbers as the edge of the playground. And so we would replace that with a concrete curb, especially if we're going to do the synthetic turf. We need that concrete curb as to attach the turf onto. And then a couple projects here at the recreation center. We need to consider a elevator modernization of our current elevator. That one we learned recently that Otis is discontinuing the operating system that's in it now. So if it did stop working, I think Kevin may be a challenge getting it, getting what we need for that. So it's time to consider updating the whole system.
And I assume any redesign would keep the elevator in the same place. Future.
I would think in terms of the overall building that we're looking at, kind of,
Right.
I would think so. It'd be very difficult to move that. Yeah.
Well, they're not replacing the car and shed.
No, it's just the control unit that's down in the room down here. So yeah, late last year, we got a letter from Otis stating that they were discontinuing the control board for this unit but there was a fix for it. So we had our elevator contractor and Otis out to look at it, and they both said that the fix wouldn't work for our unit. So you should start looking at an upgrade or a modernization. So with how much it gets used in the winter time, it's we need to make sure it stays running.
And I think, Kevin, one quote that you have already, a proposal to do the modernization, they were suggesting using a separate system, not Otis, but a different system, replacing with a system that's non-proprietary. So we hope we don't run into the same issues of it being discontinued.
It's the McDonald's flurry machine problem.
Planned obsolescence.
Yeah. And then also here at the building, we've got 3 125-gallon hot water heaters that would be replaced as well. And I think, again, depending on kind of the reconfiguration that we look at and any improvements to this building, I think we re-examine whether we still need that size or that quantity, and possibly downsize a little bit. Those.
Is tankless an option?
It is an option. That's something we'll look into as well.
Get some space back.
Right.
So that's all of the projects for 2026 and 2027. And then, of course, we have as part of the memo, we are in board pack, we attached a copy of our current 5-year plan. I know this is hard to read. I can blow this up if anybody wanted to discuss any pieces of it, but this is again, the capital projects that we're proposing for the next 5 years. And then anytime we print it out, we have what we call the back of the sheet, which is the sort of unfunded projects that are items that we would recommend or things that we would prefer to be able to do within the next 5 years if funding were available. Things that may be due based on their lifespan, but are lower priority than the things that made it to the front of the sheet. So we have currently 3.6 million of the unfunded items on the back of the sheet as well. So I'd be happy to answer any questions about the 5-year plan or any of the individual projects.
I wanted to go back to Eric's point about the timing of doing sort of design project. For the Lyman Woods Interpretive Center, I could see there being a lot of grants available for a project like that, especially with how much we use that or programming. So like to me, that feels like the faster we do it, the sooner we do it, because you never know when that grant it's going to come up. But in looking at the, plan through 2030, and for me personally, no project is reshaping the rec center here, the gym upstairs, but it's not on a plan between now and 2030, and it would be a huge expensive thing. It's getting onto this, schedule, especially with the $850,000 for Dorhofer in 2027. So that doesn't seem like, to me, it just doesn't seem like an urgency thing. It doesn't seem like if we needed to save whatever money would be used for that in case McCollum goes haywire or in case something like that. And excited as I am to be a part of that process for the rec center, I don't know if that's something that needs to, be prioritized next year. That $75,000 for the two, it's not like it's cheaper if we get two things designed at once, right? Because it would be separate teams working on this. So I don't know if you feel like we should be holding back $40,000 of that or whatever would be assigned to rec center.
What we had discussed, actually, Paul and I talked about this a little bit earlier. I think we were in agreement that the more sensible one to start off with would be the Lyman Woods, just because it could have such a large impact on programming. We are doing such an incredible amount out there that space would be hugely beneficial. And you are correct, there are. In regards to the rec center, it's tough to say. If we went for a remodel and for a grant, the most likely option would be the park grant. The park grant, as I said earlier, it's not an annual grant. It comes about cycles of every 2-3 years, maybe.
Yeah, it seems like, yeah.
It could be a couple $1 million. It'll fund all the way up to 80-90%, depending on the project. It also considers stuff like, where's the location? Is it a blighted area? Is it serving more population? So for example, we were looking at including C-Spar in it, as they'd be a very big benefit to the improvements also. But with that said, that was one of the topics that when Trish and I were talking long-term plan, we would probably recommend within the next 3 to 6 months to start having more discussions on long-term funding options.
Yeah.
It's amazing what Paul's able to fit in this 5-year plan every year. It moves a little bit every year, but we somehow seem to find the 1.5 million in the budget because that's not guaranteed money. And we're able to fund this stuff. However, we have some other opportunities coming up. Some of these grants are one of them. And the potential for our rollover capital bond is another big one. Trish and I started talking, and we believe it would be 2027 that we would likely go out for that bond if we move forward with that. Little background for Pam, that rollover bond, what it was structured in 2022 to help fund some capital projects, including McCollum Park. It built up the tax levy for bond and interest to a certain level. Once it reaches that level, it flattens out, and you're able every 3 to 4 years, let's say, go back to that to get additional dollars for capital projects without increasing taxes. It's a very common method local governments use to have a guaranteed resource for capital, because as you see for us, we do a lot of internal funding through our operations. Kind of getting back to that discussion though, we have so many items on this fact sheet that are great opportunities for us. We have a ton of concepts, ideas, and opportunities. It's how realistic are they? How do we fund them? What are the priorities of the board and the community? And I think we have to have that conversation of, okay, we have some opportunities coming up. possibly complete some of these, whether it is through grant money or whether it is through the bond. How do we go about that? How do we have that discussion? My personal recommendation is in the next, let's say, 6 months, we have a discussion to begin funding discussions. What are we looking for? We're looking for grants, rollover bonds. What are the other funding strategies? We rank some of these unfunded projects with the board as to where we see these dollars could most impact the park district, our residents, and align with the master plan, because that is very fresh right now. And then from there, get that shelf-ready roadmap that we were talking about, to have it on the shelf, that if the park grant or something else comes available, do we have plans that we can draw up and for low cost, let's say 30, 40,000, not needing to be done in the next 3 months, but more long-term, we can hand that over and try for some of those projects. But it's gonna be very difficult to say what we can and can't move forward with until we have some of that discussion. I kind of went.
Yeah, so I guess. Yeah, what I'm saying is, yeah, for talking about designing the rec program or rec center, like I wouldn't even wanna start that until after McCollum was done and we, you know, if we did need to like squeeze $40,000 into McCollum or $30,000, it's like good, cause why rush on the rec center thing? If we do it at all, and yeah, I like what you were saying that, you know, it really, even before we design it or talk about designing it, we have to know what kind of funding mechanisms we're gonna use, because we're gonna know what kind of money we have, or if we're gonna do it at all, right? Like, we could just leave it as it is or just do the window. I know that the front area is a high priority when we budgeted, you know, we've put a $300,000 price tag on that, but I think that came from like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, so that ain't $300,000 anymore.
Alone would buy a space within the fitness center.
Right, you know, but I know that, you know, when we did that park tour, when the commissioners got to tour around the rec center, there was just all sorts of ideas for things. What to do with the locker rooms we're not using, what to do with the giant utility rooms that we have, what to do with the cafeteria we're not using. You know, so if we wanted to do that, that would take a lot of planning and a lot of funding resource. And yeah, the only way, and I don't think those park grants, I mean, the C-SPAR does help a lot, but I feel like there's not, or a rec center, gym activity area, I don't know if that's on the list of things for a park fan like that.
It depends on who submits. It all comes back to the submissions and how many dollars they have.
Right, so. Yeah, I guess just talking for next year, I might. Desire on the planning for the rec center at the very end of the year, if at all. Okay. I don't know if the other commissioners feel about that.
John, what do you think?
I don't disagree with any comments that Commissioner Bender or Deputy Director Brown said. I think it would be prudent for us to put the recreation center on the 5-year capital plan as an unfunded project. That way we start having visibility into what a potential cost may be. We've documented not only for our efforts and benefit, but also for the benefits of the residents of Downers Grove. Secondarily, I would also like to have the golf course short game project included on the 5-year capital plan as an unfunded project as well. And just as a reminder, as I know we're leaning into that, as we think through the short game project at the golf course is, it is self-funded and it does reduce our reliance on taxpayer dollars. So I look at that as being an ROI vehicle for the park district, where we realize immediate return, certainly for resident and non-resident satisfaction, yet also the financial contributions it makes.
Good points. Commissioner Walsh, do you have any comments or concerns?
I don't have any comments or concerns. I'm agreeing with everything that we're discussing right now. I agree with the adding the rec center to the 5-year plan.
Pam?
I would agree as well. I think, you know, membership is increasing, demand is increasing, and it's a year-round facility. So I think it'd be a good benefit to the community.
Do you have the consensus that you're looking for?
It sounds so. If the board's comfortable, we will have the 2026 capital plan within the budget. for October. Budgeted at the levels that we talked about today. There will be flexibility on those $75,000 of architectural plans, so that if we want to delay on some, we can use those dollars towards.
Plus have that safety net, that in case we do have any cost runoff, which I don't anticipate, but in case we do, it's nice to have a little extra cushion. Budget.
100%, so we will build that all in. And keep in mind, we will have further discussions on these as they come up at future board meetings. They'll all require additional.
Kevin and Paul, I know the windows here at the rec center. Concern, I know we patched them last year. I mean, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the worst, 1 being the least, how bad are they and how critical are they replacing?
So we actually had them all recaulked, everything in the precast, on the precast walls. And they said the windows in general were in bad shape.
Okay.
But the caulk was deteriorating. So all of those were recaulked. Probably in the next few years, we'll have to start looking at some of the windows on the front portion of the building. But as of right now, they looked at a lot of those and said they were in pretty good shape. So I think we're okay for now. I think that's probably within the next 10 years, I would look at window replacement, but not in the immediate future.
Yeah, because I don't see the water we used to, especially on the north side of the building.
So we had engineering company come out and look at 3 or 4 of the windows, and they figured out that pretty much all of the caulk at the top was deteriorating. So a lot of the water was infiltrating in that way. So we had all of those windows recaulked between last year and this year.
So Commissioner Thunder's point, that $300,000 is not going to be sufficient if we have to start replacing them.
Not if we have to replace all of the windows, but I mean, it would help for sure. But I think we're in okay shape for now with the windows. Like I said, maybe I would look at it maybe in 7 to 10 years.
Thank you.
If we do any kind of a renovation of the facility, that might be an opportunity to lump that in, depending on the timing of all that.
So we're good with item number C3?
I'm good. Are you all, are the full board good?
Yeah, those are good
Yeah.
projects. Board those.
Okay, we will proceed.
Thank you.
Item number C4, golf course short game improvements, review and discussion.
So this is an exciting one. Ken and Jeff are here from the golf course to go over it. In addition, Dave printed out the information for each one of you, because it may be hard to see up on the screen. What Ken's bringing us are 3 different options for the short game, with the proposal to place it in the budget between 2026 and 2027. I'll let him talk a little bit more about that timeline and the options.
Right.
Good evening, everyone. So last year during the budget process, the board asked the staff to go ahead and start looking into the renovation of the short game area. Tonight, we're just kind of looking for feedback from you. We're going to go ahead and go over 3 different options that when we reached out to local golf course architect Michael Bukowski, and he developed these for us. All have different features, pros and cons, and we'll go over each of those. The timeline of the project, it's looking like this is going to be a 2027 at the earliest for a number of reasons. One would be the hiring any golf course landscape contractor. There are only so many in the Midwest that are able to do a project like this and at a prevailing wage. That's one of the feedback we got from the golf course architects. Also, in terms of we're looking to keep these projects funded through the golf funds, and it's going to, after having a close to $2 million irrigation project this year, it's going to take a couple of years to build up funds to complete a project along these lines. And then also with disruptions to the golf course this year that we're going to see in the fall with the irrigation project, we're looking not to have it back-to-back years. So 2027 would be the earliest. Not completing this in 2026. So what we'll do is we'll go through all 3 options. And with those options, again, we'll go over the pros and cons. And we're looking for feedback from you. What do you like from each option? We'll discuss what we think as a staff will be the best benefit for all the guests, and also what additional expenses will come with each option. So option A, this is purely focused on the short game area. And basically what you can see from this is this would have the largest fairway approach area. And this would also have two separate short game greens, and one being more prioritized with bunker shots and one being with chip shots and pitch shots. This also has a larger putting green, and what I forgot to include, I'll backtrack just for a second. In all these, you'll see that there's a driver range perimeter fencing. So with all these prices that you're going to see at the top of these, they will actually be around $200,000 less with the whole entire project. We're going to be apples to apples with all of our comparisons. In the budget for 2026, which we'll go over a little bit, we have proposed to replace the driving range perimeter fencing on the east side of the driving range, making those a little bit taller to protect the houses that are with people hitting the ball far fit these days. So the cons for this one is there is really no measurable return on investment. Also with this one, we are going to be taking out some of the parking areas, so there'll be reduced parking, which may cause them to, during, depending on which program is going on that day, might create it for us. And then we are budgeting that there would be an increased yearly expense of around $50,000. Now, this is a budget number, but this would come between just staff having to bring in an extra crew member, because essentially we're creating an extra hole, and not only an extra hole, but something that's going to be used quite often. And then also extra staff on my end in terms of the clubhouse, because now you're creating additional traffic through where you're more or less likely to have a range attendant at all times as this becomes busier. As I think Tammy mentioned, as if you build the day will come, they're definitely going to start coming when they improve short game area. On this one, this option, there's no improvement to the driving range targets, no additional hitting stations, and I kind of consider this one the lowest impact on the guest experience. And as we go through the different options, again, this will make more sense to you, but this is only going to those that are coming to the driving range currently now are looking for more or less just the putting green and driving range. Yes, we'll add, yes, this will be a new experience for them. But in terms of the overall people that usage of this will be minimal compared to the other options. Is there any questions on this one before we move to the next one?
Basic question,
Sure.
sorry.
Yeah.
This is included with the driving range cost? Or how's pricing for this work?
Is this included in the driver range cost? This would just be an add-on. This would be a pure amenity. It's one of the things that we discussed last year. As we become more of a premium facility, one of the things that was missing at the course was, or one of the last things in terms of the golf experience, was the short game area. So at the current time, there would not be an added cost to use this. It would just add to the
Could you come
experience.
and just use that and not pay anything?
Correct.
Okay.
You would have to purchase the range balls from us. So there would be that cost to use it in terms of the short game area, but it would not be additional cost just to use the short game area.
And that was gonna be one of my questions at the beginning here. Do we envision people dropping 6 of their own balls, warming up before the round, getting the feel for how that chip is? Or if somebody's using their own balls there and say, this is part of the range?
Typically, at most of these locations, you are asked, when you have a short game area, signs are put up there, range balls must be purchased through that. The putting green's a different animal. The putting green itself,
Yeah.
obviously you're using your own balls, you're practicing on the course. But most of the time when there is a short game area, my experience, there's signs saying that range balls must be purchased.
Okay, so that helps me
Yeah.
with how I frame a lot of this.
Right.
The other question I was gonna have, that it would just be good to get out of the way soon. 2 of the options have an ROI and 1 doesn't, but it seems, I don't know why that they would or wouldn't. If people are using range balls for all of them, it seems like all of them are an opportunity for ROI.
Well, in terms of what, I shouldn't say no measurable ROI. Basically, what we're saying is that in terms of a lot of times when they use these, they'll use the range balls here first and then take them over to the range. So it's not necessarily another bucket of balls. Does that make sense to you? So a lot of places that use the short game area, so they'll buy them from the pro shop. And they'll go ahead or from our ball dispenser, use them on the short game area and then take them over to the driving range. So if that person was already coming to the range, it wouldn't be additional income.
Okay,
terms of
so
my-
just buy another 30 balls over there.
Right. Option B. So you can see it on this one, this is addressing the whole entire practice facility itself. So this one's gonna have larger putting green, improved short game area. Now in this short game area here. Actually, I think we mixed. I may have posted a lot. Let me go to, if you look on the pictures here, this is the picture of option C, I'm sorry.
What option C?
We can go to option C, yeah. Okay. No, option B's picture is not posted on there properly. If you look onto your packet, we'll talk about option B real quick. With on option B here, there'll be a larger putting green, improved short game area. This one will have a fairway approach. And what I like about this one is this one's going to improve the range targets and the wedge targets on the driver. So this will be more of obviously a visual improvement to the golfer itself. What we are missing in terms of the prices on this one is obviously a much smaller short game area. So you're basically taking the funds from the short game area itself in terms of having 2 putting greens and moving those funds onto the driving range. We feel that with that, you're still providing the golfer with the ability to hit wedge shots and working on their short shots. But instead of having that on an area that's going to require a lot of maintenance, you're just adding it to our current short game and improving the large revenue source that we have. So creating a better experience for that. And then not and just moving the funds over to the range itself rather than just focusing on the short game area. Any questions on this one? Go to option C. Okay, now on option C, first thing that stands out is obviously the cost, it being coming in about $100,000 less than option A and option B. This is due to the fact that the short game area itself can be done in-house by Jeff Posen and his staff because of the type of grass that'll be used on the short game area. So the short game area in the first 2 would have a fairway approach, but then on the short game green, it would actually be green, which then would require a lot. There's advantage and disadvantage to that. The advantage of that, obviously, the golfer itself sees the ball react in the green. The disadvantage on that is a lot more maintenance on our end. You're essentially having to repair a green that sees repeated damage and excessive maintenance that has to be done by Jeff and his staff. Also on this one, you can see that we're talking about this one having a return on investment because part of the funds by not having to do the short game area contracted out outside and keeping it all in house, we're able to extend the driving range team. And by going out there, we're able to extend the driving range by 3 to 4 stations. Now, this might not seem like a lot, but we average around $15,000 to $20,000 per station per year, just from simple math. There's more factors that go into that. But there are many times, I think, Mr. Bender, you were out there recently, and it's busy. There's many times on the weekends when we have people that are waiting to use the range. So just by extending the range 3 to 4 stations, there would be a return on investment of about 7 to 10 years if it maintains at that $15,000 to $20,000 to pay for this project itself.
Not to mention they go buy their balls before they go to the range, they take the short game area and they start warming up. And then when a spot opens up, they go to the range and the additional 3 to 4 spots that are available.
Okay.
Correct. One of the things also in this, and by extending the range, I wanted to mention is one of the biggest talking points in the golf industry right now is just the adding of different technological advances to the driving range. whether that be a top tracer or a TrackMan system. That is something that we've discussed moving down the line, but this just sets us up for that in the future. So it just allows us to prepare for future capital improvements that will come down the line. Obviously, the cons of this one is the short game area being at fairway heights. There being a single short game area green and no increase in the current in this option in terms of the putting green size. So basically, you're taking all the funds from there and basically adding them to the driving range tee. Are there any questions on this one?
I noticed this one doesn't have the road on it or the path. How much better does that path make the lives of the workers there? Is that why that was added, so that it's easier to get trucks in and out, or why does this plan not have that path on there?
Well, primarily part of the path is you can see that it kind of divides the two areas up. That was primarily just for parking for our guests to drive. If they had their golf cart, they could drive in rather than walking across the putting green. They could park there and use the short game area. Jeff can talk more about in terms of the path.
Yeah, Jeff, you should go up there. Thanks, John.
Not that you want to. On option C, the fact that the short game area still gets bigger right now, because right now the green is only about 500 square feet, but there's ample room to make it about 1,500 square feet. So it still stays within the footprint that we have now. So that way we don't need to add the other two options. There's a little bit of a parking issue where we're losing some of the parking lot. So that the path kind of became unnecessary. It kind of, we just improve it. The way it's working now is good, but it's just a bigger green and a bigger bunker with the fairway.
But so the path is those other plans for the benefit of the golfer. I guess because I saw it go into the shed area, I was thinking that path was being added to make for you, like drive vehicles out of there.
Right. Well,
I know the driving range there too. I was just wondering why you wouldn't want that in all the plans.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, it just became unnecessary. Again, it was just the space thing. If we made it bigger, then that's when we would need to get more access up to the range there. Because you're gonna have parking there, right?
Right. So I think to answer that question even more to you is it's put in there in one of the plans in terms of, and this was kind of a work in progress. Obviously, A came first, and then we worked with them, then B came, and then C came. So by talking to the architect, he initially put those paths in there, and Jeff kind of told him, yes, the path is nice. It's not necessarily needed for him.
Okay.
To help out the customer yet more, the path coming from the current walkway and then having parking between the two, yes, that would be greatly improve the guest experience. But in terms of Jeff, I think what he's getting at is, yes, it would be nice. It wouldn't change in terms of how we operate or view it.
So it's not a benefit to
No,
driving on the path or not. Right. You get something. Doesn't even have to be that long of a path. If you just be able to circle that's between the two areas, right? That players could park on if they wanted to.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely.
To separate the putting green.
And that's just something that we've also had in some issues that we've had in the past is there's such a large area between the putting green and what it currently is now the short game area. Some of our golfers are very confident in their abilities and they're hitting shots from the putting green all the way to that short game area. By having a designated parking area there, it almost eliminates the ability to do that.
Yeah, just as you were talking about, it almost is a safety measure because it discourages trying to hit from 60 yards away.
Correct.
Yards, whatever it is.
Well, let me ask you this. You guys are there every day. You're the subject matter experts. Out of the three options, what do you recommend?
So our initial recommendation was C, primarily just because of the cost and the return on investment. And for us, our biggest thing is just in terms of the range tee. And that's why when he made these, I mean, that's why we chose C, was because it added those 3 to 4 extra stations that allow when we have wait time and just a better experience for the guests. Also, and we also picked C because of the short game area itself, in terms of adding maintenance, in terms of Jeff's crew. To have a short game area that has essentially fairway tee height on the approach all the way up to the green. It's just something that can be maintained. It will have a better appearance to all the golfers.
Okay.
Now, there's also other parts of other options that are attractive as well, like the larger putting green is something that the guests would see as well. And that's kind of what we're looking from you today is in terms of feedback is what parts of each, or is there one that you totally like that we want to go with, or is there feedback, are there parts of each that you want us to explore to go back to the architect to say, we want to see this and we don't want to see, we're gonna take this part off.
Sean, what are your thoughts?
My first thought is I want to apologize for my oversight. Some of my earlier comments, I completely neglected to remember that the cost for this was coming out of the call fund as a capital fund. So that's my mistake. I like a combination of option B and C, to be honest with you. Jeff, I think your opinion, given the fact that you are there day in and day out and are maintaining a wonderful golf course is very important to me. I know whatever we create is going to be an added enhancement for golfers, both residents and non-residents. But I'm also very interested in what makes your life easier too. Because if we're considering a significant investment in the facility, I don't necessarily want it to come at an added expense for your team or making the way that you go about your day-to-day operation less efficient. That's like one of my top. I love the idea of enhancing the current putting green. And I've been on that putting green. You guys have seen it day in and day out. It's full with 5 or 6 golfers. Right? We need more square footage there. You're just on top of that. I am personally comfortable with us maintaining the short game area green at fairway height. I think probably fits Belmont.
Right.
Does save us some money. I think we'll probably field, after it goes in, I think we'll probably field some requests, from golfers to cut it down.
Right.
Cut it as low as you possibly can so you can get a fairway feel,
Mhm.
because you're going to want to try and replicate that as a golfer. Your fairway feel versus your first cut feel. I would plan and think through that. That very well may come.
I think that is the plan to cut it with the fairway lower all the way up.
Right, still have a fairway section there.
And then rough on the exterior, almost like a,
Exterior.
like a,
But the green itself won't be a putting green height.
yep.
Won't be a USGA spec green. It'll be just a bigger version of what I did a few years ago with the lesson seat behind.
Yep.
So.
Yep. So that could very well be a start, right, Jeff? So phase 1, round 1, 5, 7, 10 years, we have that in place. If at that time we elect to make it USGA regulated, green, we have that option, correct?
It would need to be rebuilt because the USGA green, all the drainage has to go in beforehand.
Got it.
You couldn't revert it. You could do a reverse. You can build a USGA green and then just let it grow up to tee height. So it can be like a super fancy tee, that's what it'll turn into, but it'll still be usable. But you can't make it tee height first and then you just got to rebuild everything.
Got it. So the idea is for it to be tee box height.
Right.
Correct. Okay. I think those are my sentiments. I love the fact that we would gain 3 to 4 additional spots on the range. It's really important.
And then also on option B and C with the range targets, so those range targets would turn into synthetic targets that are out on the range.
Yes.
So visually, I talked about in the first and one of the bullet points was just a visual return for the golfer. So our golfer right now, the range has gone from essentially $150,000 to $200,000 in revenue to over $500,000 last year, and we're most likely going to be in it again this year. So just continue to invest in revenue generating source for us, and visually they'll see that we've done something. And then having some shorter wedge targets is something that's been requested for a while from everyone, so.
Yeah, and a couple of times a year I use the driving range. I'm always wishing there's more short targets. So that I can, you know, practice that ahead of my 1 or 2 rounds of golf a year. Although, thanks to the rain, I did have a spectacular round on Sunday. I don't know how that happened. But yeah, so I mean, I really like the additions of the short ones. I like the bigger green. I like option, was A's bigger than B?
So A is just the short game, so A would not have any, you would not have any of the wedge targets, you would not have having this.
But it was the enlarged green. I'm sorry, was the enlarged putting green?
That was in B.
Oh, that was not? It says enlarged.
No,
My A says enlarged putting green from 4,100 to 6,000.
No, A is you're enlarging, A, you're doing just the short game, so A is the putting green and the short game.
Yeah.
There's no wedge targets.
Right.
But A and B both include the extended
But it's
green.
the same extended green, not one of the greens is bigger, it was the question I was getting to, so, but I agree that that needs to be bigger. I know one of the first concerns when this issue came out, was it last year or the year before? Was Jeff's team getting from the shed to the course? You know. Yeah, and that's kind of why I thought that the road was really for you in option B. Is that even though it cut out 3 parking spaces, it gave you free access to the course. You know, what are your concerns in option C? Are you gonna be able to get around and out to the course when you need to, or is it always gonna have to be like waiting for somebody to finish their shot so you can pass the by, because that can be really irritating.
There's still, so, yeah, one of the, on option C, I think there's a call out there of between the ball field at Puffer School and the range nets, we do have a chain link fence that's all just scrub hedgerows, about 300 feet. That would have to be removed. So that would give us the access to actually go, safe access to go around the nets and out through the range and out on the course.
So you would just go like around the back of the
Yeah.
range?
They currently already do that, so they kind of have a 2-way highway, but I think that's what you're saying in terms of what you liked on B, and I think he'll appreciate this, that's on B. Even if it isn't, on B, it talks about the asphalt, it shows the pathway that he would take. Whether that's actual asphalt or concrete, or it's just grass, that just losing those 3 spaces, I think we're gonna need for his staff. Does that make sense? Just because I think he needs that access to get out to the.
Even if we do option C, where that's not shown?
We're basically, because on option C, it doesn't show any cutoff of any, and that way, yes, he would have to wait for someone to.
So if we don't take out a parking space or 2.
There may be a time where, or his guys always have to go the long way.
Yeah,
Does that make sense? So it's,
that seems irritable if I worked there. I can
yes.
go to holes.
It's been irritable for about 20 years, so.
I would always like the path, to be quite honest with you.
I did like the path.
Yes,
Right.
I like the path.
Right, there is a, I mean, you know, on one of the options, he shows it paved by the ball field, the school ball field. There is we do have to look at, because it's quite the drop, there's a big gully there, so there might be some grading there that we have to look into further with the city and stuff, as far as because there's some pipes that go underneath there.
Yeah,
But the other thing, I liked what you said earlier, Ken, about having at least part of the path, if we don't do the path all the way to the maintenance shed, putting that parking space between the putting green and the practice area. Yeah, it's there and that's great, but I almost like it better because then nobody's trying to shoot balls from all the way back. It kind of sets an outer limit of like, yeah, you're not gonna, because I could, you know, see people wanting to hit from the rough, because you also want to know how your lob wedges would go out of the rough and hit the green, so. But it kind of, it cues to people don't hit from farther back.
Finds the space.
In this line, yeah. So as much as we all love green space and all that, I think it is nice to have a little separation there, so I think that I would like to see it in the final plan. And then, yeah, I mean, opening up any plan that's gonna open up more range bays. I don't see a limit to what we can handle out there. We could, you know, there's always gonna be people who want to be using it.
Right, I mean, there's always, it can be, unfortunately, we don't have the space, but it could, I mean, it could be.
It could be like
With other things, with other competitors and what's going on with them right now, you could have 100 bases, it'd be beautiful, it's just unfortunate we don't have the the space for it.
And did I hear that the range that's off of York Road, is that closing?
There's a couple in the area that are on. There's.
Yeah, but Fresh Meadows are York and 22nd.
Yeah.
Yeah, that goes.
Not to mention, Ken, we still house the high school golf teams. Right now, that's seasonal, of course. But if you've been there during, I know you guys have seen it, but you guys have been there, and both teams are there, and you have 25 kids standing around waiting. The additional short game area in bays, obviously, mitigate the risk of the players standing and doing nothing, allows them to practice. Because the teams practice at the same time, right? So, south could be on the range, north could be on the short game area, vice versa. It just opens up a lot of optionality for us to support our local high schools.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, yeah, I mean, essentially what you would do for the high schools then by having a larger putting green, obviously, and a short game area. And then currently we give the high schools our private lesson tee.
Yeah.
To use at that time. So a high school then have almost like 3 stages. I think that also rotation that would. That's really well for them, so. Some of the things that were on all the drawings that we mentioned is that so in the budget for 2026, we talked about the fencing that's on the east side. Changing those 30-foot fences into 60-foot fences. That's been part of the capital plan for a while. But also putting new fencing on the west side of the driving range to retain some of our golf ball lofts that we have every single year, kind of protecting them from going into the pond. So putting a fence all down that side. And then also there would be fencing that came out onto the driving range that would stop from the balls kind of getting to our flooded area. That way I think we've lost about close to 15,000 golf balls this year in terms of either being plugged or being lost into the back left. Yeah. So that's also included in all these as well.
So while Ken was talking, I pulled up the 26 golf capital plan that shows that netting and such.
So it sounds like what we're looking for is to make a combination of B and C.
Yeah. I was hearing was option C with an extended green and potential path that gives some ability for the maintenance team out also.
Yeah, the netting on the east side, that's gonna prevent me from hitting all those cars on Belmont. So.
No, so are you gonna come back then with the options B and C to the board? Is that what I'm understanding?
For the combined,
I think we were gonna combine it,
okay,
try to bring one idea back to the board based on what we heard.
Well, that's what I meant with the new
Yeah.
price tag,
With an updated price tag, that may take a bit of time. Do you have any timeline that would probably take?
Yeah, 4 to 6 weeks, I think.
So the good news is that we're looking at this for 26 and 27. So 26 would be some of the netting. So we have time to work this into the budget for 27. So we're not under a time crunch.
Yeah, no matter what option to do that netting, it's been part of a capital plan. It needs to be replaced. So it's not. No matter what option we pick, that's part of the budget for 2026.
Jeff, are you happy with this?
Yeah. Yeah, I think combination would be great because like I said, putting green is too small. It's trampled to death. The putt's a little different than the ones on the course, and it'd be an attractive feature to and even make it bigger than what he's got here even too. There's still some more space. So I'll work with the architect to try and just maximize that whole space, make it as big as we can.
I think maybe 1 to 1.5 part-time employees, over the course of the summer would be the labor expense to maintain the enhancements.
Well, that was for option A.
Wasn't there a $35,000 expense for?
So that one, we're basically saying, depending on what we decide to do, so there will be more expense.
Yeah.
Kind of between the both of us. Or we're just talking about in terms of probably more of a range attendance on my end, and then obviously creating essentially another hole that his staff would have to maintain. So yeah.
And the plan C had the tracer. I don't think the board talked about you're saying you're.
So basically the big, one of the big talking points in golf going forward, is just bringing new technology to the ranges. And by having additional range space, if we choose to do that down the line, which would be another large capital expense that we could bring to the board, but that may not be until 2030.
But this kind of precursor work, how big of a price tag would that be having in like 2027?
That,
Yeah,
you're probably talking to do that correctly, 1.5.
I mean, no, I mean, you said you're gonna do some like work that would like prepare us for that.
Basically setting up the targets and such is starting to.
Correct. So all the enhancements to the range in terms of the synthetic targets, B and C are prepping you for that.
Okay,
not
so those are
doing
the
any
things that
of
are, it's not like we're like running
No.
wires in now or something like that to maybe hook stuff up to it later.
Not at this.
It's just those little targets are the thing that is.
Correct. And that's what everyone's looking for. So
Okay.
obviously different games you can play on those different screens.
No, I go to that way more than I actually play golf. And so I know that people just enjoy that and Topgolf is dying and people seem to enjoy the tracer thing. So.
There was a lot of talk at the golf conference about the tracers. It's obviously a trend that's starting to move forward in golf. Therefore, by setting up these targets, I think we talked at the conference, Ken, that we're probably at least 3 to 5 years out before we would even float that idea.
Correct. Because to do that properly would take a significant investment in terms of maybe increased shelter space. You'd have to change the heating aspect of the current driver range. And so there's more than just putting the technology.
Right. And I'm not even sure if there's an ROI on it for us since
That's
so many people already use our range. I mean, what are you gonna do? Start charging more for the range? I don't want to see that, you know.
You had a lot of people talking there about how do they solve their problem of getting more people at the range, like you're saying right there, and that's some of their solutions.
Right. Yeah. You would just look during obviously the off-season months, you might have more of a demand during those months, but it's not as busy. But during the summer months, when it's completely full, you can't put more people on.
Right. And you gotta be competing with that new place you're putting at Washington and Warren. There's a whole like indoor golf thing coming into downtown Downers,
Correct.
you know, so we would be competing with
Right.
that too, so we'll have to see how successful.
Right. And so that's just something that I know that we'll keep an eye on and see how that's in the industry, how that's actually, is it a fad? Are people going away from that? Or more people doing that? We'll obviously keep an eye on that for sure.
It prepares us without locking up into any dollar.
I just want to make sure that part of it wasn't too expensive, because I didn't want to put too much money toward preparing for that if it's something that may never happen.
Right.
So if that was like $100,000 of the cost, I'd be like, let's just not prepare for it.
I think we would agree.
Right.
Okay.
Commissioner Walsh, do you have any comments or concerns about item C4?
I have none.
Thank you. Item number, are we done with C4?
So we're gonna blend right into C5 as that's the golf budget conversation. I'm gonna ask these two to hang out up there for a moment. And Ken, if you want to go right into capital before Trish goes into the actual financial report, great. Sure.
So capital for next year. So the bunker improvements is something that Jessica doing for year after year after year. I mean, how many bunkers do we have left on the?
There's four or five more.
4 or 5 more. So we're knocking those off. As you can see in those that have played on the course, he does kind of adding the eyebrow look to it, making it a little more historic feel, kind of creating a little bit more just more ambiance to the course, more historic feel. Renovation to the #1 tee box. He's been doing that year after year after year, changing out the playing surface on those tee boxes. That type of plant that he uses on there is much, obviously you don't have to use as much chemical or anything at all in those, correct?
Right. It's a significant reduction in chemicals and fertilizer, so.
And then this is what we talked about in terms of the short game areas, in terms of the new range netting. That will come in at cost around, obviously we'll go out to bid for that, but right around $200,000 to replace that netting. Currently, those nets are at 30 feet. I think on the 30 feet, and we're looking to bring this up to about around 60 feet to protect the housing that's on the far side of the range. We talked about the well pump replacements. That was kind of the completion of the irrigation project. We had them come up, look at the well this year. We do know that does need to be to replace. I believe that's 30 years old.
No one knows, there's no records on it. It's 30 or 35 years old. So it's due, right?
Right. And then a number of pieces of equipment that we continue to replace and maintain in Jeff's fleet, so that we can keep our, of course, a premium destination for everyone.
So the goal next year for this was to balance, continuing with some of our capital projects with moving forward on that short game area. So hopefully, that creates a little balance. Before we move into showing the 5-year capital plan, are there any questions, concerns with this list of capital projects?
I have none.
Not for me.
Commissioner Walsh, do you have any questions or concerns about the capital recommendation?
None from me.
So then we move right into Ken and Jeff worked with Trish to develop a 5-year plan, much like what Paul does for the golf course. And as you can see here, in the next couple of years, we're going to continue our heavy investment into the course. We're having very good summers, good rounds, good revenues. Now it's the time to strike while the iron's hot, unintended. So if you want to mention any of these or call out any of these, you can, Jeff, you're welcome to.
Yes, I mean, obviously in 2027, we put a placeholder in there for the $500,000 for the short game area. That may be adjusted based on after talking to the architect and what those costs come out as. But going forward, some of the other big items that have always been that we keep on pushing back as other ones come up, but the window replacement of the clubhouse. It's kind of the last thing that we need to change out. We've done the roof recently, we've done the doors, we did a renovation inside the clubhouse, and the windows need to be replaced. We have a placeholder in 2029 for parking lot repavement. Is that done on here?
It was 2012, I think.
Pretty good for 2012.
Yeah. So that's a big ticket item in 2029. And then when we get into 2030, we get back to continue to work on replacing Jeff's equipment. We've talked about extending some of the cart paths on the golf course to make it better. So when days when there are rain, possibly getting the carts out there more often than having to shut down the carts. And then also there's a placeholder in there for electric carts for 2030. Now this is something that the board has brought up to us in the past, changing over from gas carts to electric carts. We have kept on moving this down the line as the recommendation of the board was to focus more on the short game area. Recently, then the irrigation project came up and we had to move that on, so that keeps on getting pushed down. The nice thing is with all of our cart leases, we sign up a 5-year cart lease, but each cart lease is a 1-year reoccurring lease. So that can be revisited at any time. And talking to now that who currently do like cart lease, but any year we can change over from gas to electric. We just have to have the infrastructure put in prior. So there is a placeholder in 2030 for that as of right now.
In addition, we've done a great job of managing our resources at the golf course. Our fund balance is healthy. We're spreading these projects out appropriately. So as Trish does the budget each year, we do reassess this with the golf staff. So there are chances for efficiencies to come about, additional revenues to come in that will allow us to push some of these up. And I know one of those in the past, like he said, was the electric carts. There could be opportunities to push that up if we continue to recognize the revenues that we've seen the last handful of years.
Is there any item on the 5-year capital plan or items that you said, I'd really like to have this a year earlier or a year later, and you went back and forth and wrestled with Trish? Not literally.
I mean, yeah, I think we're.
Yeah, we discussed it a lot, so I think.
You're comfortable.
I think us as a staff, and I know the residents themselves are very appreciative in terms of the park board's investment into the property. And I know Jeff and I are comfortable in terms of the equipment that we're supplied with to do the job that we do, so.
I think staff has done a good job talking amongst each other too, that we're all on the same wavelength when it comes to the golf and on the governmental side with Paul. I haven't seen him typically we end up in the same place as we talk, so that's been really good. Are there any other questions about the 5-year plan? Do we kind of feel comfortable where it's at right now? And whether we can move forward with more of the golf?
No, I'm comfortable. I mean, you guys are the subject matter experts. It's your operation. The way you feel and it's your recommendation. Commissioners, about the 5-year plan.
So with that, we will bring back, I'm thinking probably later October, November, 4 to 6 weeks.
Yep.
Those options, so we can get through some of the budget conversations. They're gonna be quite long. Bring that back to people for the final analysis of the short game. Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate if you wanna jump on into the rest of the financial report.
Thanks, gentlemen.
Thank you.
You're ready? I'm ready. This is where the fun really begins for the night, so I know everybody's excited to talk about a lot of numbers. Just for the new commissioners, Commissioner Johnson and Commissioner Walsh, while this is a separate golf budget presentation tonight, numbers are still able to be changed should the board wish that. This does flow into the overall budget that will be presented at the October 3rd meeting. As Commissioner Dahlstrom alluded to earlier this evening, the golf course is really its own operation, operates very much like a small business, is very self-sufficient and is not reliant on any property taxes that the district receives.
That is a unique thing for the district, as many courses have become. We are one of a handful that have stayed to the business model.
So as I move through the presentation tonight, I just want you to just think in the back of your minds, because we will circle back to this slide. We will be looking for consensus on the overall golf budget as presented, or if you recommend any changes to it. There will be several comments made to proposed fee structures. I will ask that when I bring up fee structures, that we hold any discussion regarding those until the end of the presentation, because that could be a lengthier discussion. And then item number 3, it sounds like we already have concurrence on the 5-year capital plan. But if at the end somebody wants to renege on that stance, that is totally fine too, and we can revisit that. So understanding what's in the golf budget, as I move through it, there's going to be a very busy financial slide that comes next. We're focusing on the 2025 projection, 2026 budget, and the 2027 estimate. Understand that this was put together in July, and therefore some things that are referenced are as of June 30th, because we needed to pick a good end date to focus on. Throughout here, even though we opened up later than in 2024, we have still had very strong overall demand, and the revenues are still very strong this year. We will see a decrease in operating expenses. And then obviously for capital, the large capital project this year is the irrigation system replacement, along with the pond dredging and some equipment. Overall, the revenue performance at this time when we put this together is projected to exceed budget by 6.8% or 145,000. We did have a very strong July, and we did have a very strong August at the golf course. So this could potentially be even higher as we continue to move through the shoulder season. For 2026, staff is recommending a $1 greens fee increase for residents and a $2 increase for non-residents. There is a small weather adjustment. We always take that into account for greens fees because we just don't know if weather is going to be the same from one year to the next. You will see that operating expenses in 2026 are growing faster than revenue, and that is largely because of seasonal staff. We are budgeting for Jeff to be able to fully staff his seasonal positions. Unfortunately, this year he was not able to find that third person, but we kept it in the budget for 26. And then along the course, they are going to add drinking stations for the customers to be able to fill up water bottles and have a little refreshment as they go. We already talked about the capital recommendations, with the large one being almost $200,000 related to the range netting on the east side of the course. 2027, I'm not going to spend a lot of time in. There's information in the written report that's really just an estimate that we use for planning, just to help us gauge like some of those capital plans and what we're going to be able to really tackle in the future years. So this is the crazy busy financial slide. This is also in the written report. Just some things I want to point out in the first yellow line, the total golf operating revenues. That's where you're going to see the 2025 versus budget column. You're going to see where we're exceeding almost $145,000. And you're going to see that the majority of that is coming from charges for services, which is where all of our greens fees, driving range fees are flowing into that line item. You will notice to the column next to it that revenues are only projected to go up 0.6%. You might think why? That doesn't make sense. We are budgeting for rounds to be around 44,000. That just seems to be more of what the average would be, understanding that 2024 was an anomaly year. And we also take into account that slight weather adjustment. Operating expenses for 2025 are coming in about 27,000 below budget. And that really relates to salaries and employee benefits. We did have one of our employees change his health insurance benefit in mid-year, which benefited us because he dropped to a lower plan. For in the green area, that first line, the unrestricted fund balance, you will see that it's very healthy. Actually, we ended 2024 at the 2.4 million. And then under the 2025 projected column, you'll see it's 1.2. And that is a major drawdown that was planned related to the irrigation system. So that just shows that the golf course is healthy. It's able to fund its own projects without borrowing money. The plan is to run 2026 business as usual. And then 2027, we would see that large capital project of the short game area, which would bring the fund balance down just a little bit. Moving on to some golf revenue performance indicators. On this slide, total rounds is the mauve bar. You will see from in 2025, we're projecting a decrease from 2024. That's going to be a common theme this year because if you recall, 2024, we opened the course in February. So that was an exceptional year, as I stated. 26 and 27, we're budgeting down to 44,000. As I mentioned earlier, it's a little bit of an average between the prior years and takes into account what if weather is not as strong as this year. For the range, we are projecting a decrease this year, same reasons. In 2026, you're going to see it decrease a little bit. There will have to be, per Jeff and Ken, a short closure at the range because of the range netting being replaced. And then you're going to see that dip even further down in 2027 just due to the short game work that might have to be closed earlier to allow for that work to be completed. I mentioned we had a slower start this year to the beginning of the season. However, as the season has gone on, demand has been exceptionally strong. So for 26 and 27, just a slight change in the demand plus the fee adjustment, taking into account a weather adjustment, is where we're coming up with the total revenue of 2.28. Next slide, golf revenue. Total revenues per round. So this takes into account all the revenues at the golf course divided by the total number of rounds golfed. This captures what the average experience would be for the golfer. How much money does the average golfer spend while they're at the golf course? So for 2025, that's coming in a little bit less than last year, but again, the season opened up later. 2026 is slightly higher, 2027 drops back down, and that's because of the short game impact on the driving range revenue.
What matrix are you using to come up with the estimation for the total? Are you using golf cart rental fee?
Yes, so we take it all into account. We take the total revenues, so everything. So we're talking concessions, golf cart rentals, greens fees, driving range fees, all of that revenue totaled and dividing it by the total number of rounds. Merchandise too, yes. Because
What we found is about 10 years ago, we were just looking at greens fees. And that was not a good model for revenue estimation because you're not really looking at the whole, what golf encompasses. It's all those other parts. So now what we've done is we're looking at all of those, and that's what we've seen growth in merchandise. We've seen growth in concessions. We've seen the growth in the range keys, because we're including all of those in our discussions and planning how can those revenues also.
Okay, so the pro shop is in here. as
That's
well.
correct. Yes,
Sessions, everything.
yes.
So we probably went from about, I'd say $25 probably 10
Yes.
years ago to where we are now.
Okay.
45 cents of every dollar is spent on non.
Oh, wow, okay.
So we've heard me mention weather adjustments. We try to identify what we feel would be an ideal golf day for golfers here in Downers Grove. And we feel that somewhere between 50 to 90 degrees on any given day with less than 0.1 inches of precipitation. So through June of 2025, we had 73 of these solid days in total, with the average being 71. Now, you can see, especially for the new commissioners, I alluded to February of 2024 that we opened up earlier, and you can see that identified in this graph. That blue bar in February is the 2024 year. So that tells you right there that we were off to such a strong start last year. But as the season has moved on, we have slowly caught up to those revenues. Golf membership rates, it seems that we have had some type of rate increase over the last several years, whether it was green fees, passes, the carts, there's always something that gets adjusted. This year, as I mentioned earlier, we are looking at a $1 to $2 increase on greens fees. Whether you're a resident or a non-resident, we are looking at a 10% increase on the passes that are offered. However, motorized carts, pull carts, and driving range will be staying flat. That's staff's recommendation. This chart shows our comparables to Oak Brook, Naperville, Arrowhead, Lisle, and Glen Ellen. The red thick line in the middle is our current pricing compared to the others. You will see that we are towing in the middle, a little bit towards the lower end. The white thick line is the new proposed rate. Again, it maintains us in the middle of the pack with our competitors. And this also does not take into account any rate increases that those golf courses may put into place in 2026. That information is not available.
Just to cut in really quick, that was another topic conversation at the last golf conference, is that courses are taking advantage right now of the strong demand of golf to hit those prices, because they're seeing the demand there. They're looking for to maintain the supply for that. What they're also doing is positioning themselves as a strong course. Oftentimes rates can relate to how well you're looked at in the public eye too. So we try to model ourselves aligned with some of the 18 hole courses that are in the area that we're golfing the front 9 or back 9 here. We're not a typical 9-hole par 3 course.
Moving on specifically to the driving range itself, we are seeing that 2025 is, coming down a little bit. I think it's a more regular usage pattern for 2025 because 2024 was just exceptional again. And then there is no fee adjustment, as I stated, and the slight decrease that you see in 26 relates to the range net being replaced, and then the further decrease in 27 relates to the closure to do the short game improvements. Moving on to programming, this remains a steady revenue source for the course. Nothing major going on here. We're still planning to offer similar offerings that we offered in 2025. Merchandise and concessions, you will see again, that's trending lower than 2024. That's to be expected. However, it's still very strong for this year for both merchandise and concessions. The increase in revenue in 26 relates to concession pricing increases simply because the cost of goods that we sell is increasing. So to balance that out, we have to increase some of the prices that we sell the products at. And we continue to offer a variety to the golfers, hoping that they will extend their stay. So we count on that to bring in more revenue.
Strong year, still.
Yes, very strong. Moving on to the operating expenses, personnel, this is always going to be your largest part, your largest expense of any budget. I want to point out, while it looks like there's a big jump from 2024 to 2025, that was budgeted, that was planned for. We allocate support staff such as the finance department, part of their salaries to the golf course, right? Because we still have to do financial analysis and things that benefit the golf course. So currently that allocation was at 5%. For 2025, it was changed to 10% and it remains at 10%. In addition, we decided, because of all the work that marketing does for the golf course, that some of those salaries should also be allocated. And marketing was not previously allocated before. So now 10% of the marketing team's salaries are also allocated towards golf. So that's causing that large jump from 2024 to 2025. In 2026, you'll see we're dipping down. And what's happening there is golf will no longer be reporting to the director of recreation. With Michelle coming on board this year and Dave's retirement, the decision was made that golf would roll up to the deputy director. So therefore, part of the current director of recreation salary is allocated there. So that portion will no longer be allocated to golf. So that's why we're seeing the decrease in the wages, because we're removing a portion of the director of rec salary. In addition, you'll see that the healthcare for 2026 is decreasing. And I mentioned earlier that one of our employees had a change in his healthcare coverage. So 2026, we recognize that full year of that change. So that's a significant decrease as well. Utilities, nothing exciting going on here. We're budgeting for slight increases. We know there's going to be increases with water, along with increased usage. Operating expenses for maintenance, repairs, and replacement. This came down in 2025, knowing that we were replacing the irrigation system. We took money out of that budget and we haven't had to spend any to get along this year. In 2024, we had a one-time expense of that audio system. So that's what peaked 2024 higher. We didn't have any such one-time one-time expense like that in 2025. 2026, we have some small replacements. This is equipment that's less than $10,000, which is why it was not on the 5-year capital plan. So this is the range picker, a power broom replacement, the addition of the drinking stations throughout the golf course. 2027, again, is just updates to small assets throughout the course and maintenance. So here we are. I'm circling back to our slide. So I'm going to open the door. Now, if you guys want to discuss the recommended fee increases that staff had, I'd be happy to put that slide back up if you want. Ken and Jeff are here to answer any questions regarding that.
I have a question. Why did staff recommend to keep the cart fees flat?
The golf cart and the pull carts?
Yeah, so basically when we do all of our fees, we do a competitor. We look at all our competitors and see what they're charging. And currently at the $12, we are priced properly compared to everyone else. in anticipation, even if the majority of, we're at $12 and the majority of our competitors being at $11. We anticipate they may raise to $1 and we'll still be in line with everyone else. That's why, and throughout history, we've kind of gone increasing green fees, driving range, or car fees, kind of not them all at 1 year. So with this year focusing on the green fees, we decided not to do the car fees. And the same thing with the driving range as well. We didn't increase the driving range because of where those numbers fall in based on our competitors.
Do the lease costs inflated each year?
They stay the same for the length of the lease. So we're on 5 years and that lease will be up in 2028.
Any concerns, comments?
And the only question I had, when we're talking drink stations, are we talking like water fountains, or we're just talking the little cubby hole with the?
So currently we do have the water fountains on the course. And when this irrigation system is being put in, the chances of those water fountains being functional, not very high. Is that the way I say it? I mean, they're gonna dig through lines, we're gonna do all this trenching at the end of those lines, and the replacement cost of that was in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. So those drinking stations will be what you typically see at a golf course, is where part of the staff's daily routine will be to fill water jugs and have them out on the course. So
Big little coolers.
Exactly.
And wooden nest.
that enclosure, exactly.
I think Ken will be marketing some Belmont bottles to fill that with out of the
Right.
shop.
I just wanted to make sure I understood what we were talking about in the station.
Is it used much?
The
The drinking stations now?
drinking fountains, are they used much now? Absolutely. I mean, we do other things to improve the experience out there. So with many of our ladies leagues, we'll have the Rangers take out coolers full of ice so they can get a couple ice when they're out there. This year during the hot spell, we took the beverage cart and put it out there. So I mean, it's part of it. I mean, we try to make, obviously the whole entire idea of the golf course is to make it a premium experience. So even us this year having 2 drinking stations is more than most. Most courses will have 1 per 18. Our goal is to have 2 out there next year, spacing them out.
Where are we at?
I think the idea is 3 and 7 is what we're talking about. 17.
Yeah, 14.
Yeah, I know number 3. So once you get up the hill, you really need a drink. Number 3.
I could see it on 4. I thought it might go on 6 because I feel like, it's been a long time since I played there, but I feel like that's where the backups always were.
It's possible. Well, ever since we've gone to the 10-minute tee time intervals,
We don't have those.
there shouldn't be a back. I mean, not saying that there's not. You get your certain group. But the 10-minute tee time intervals, there's not very many backups
I
anymore.
really want to get out there, but I never think to play golf until like a day before and.
Right. And then it's hard to get tees out, right?
No,
It's amazing the reduction we've got from going to 10 minutes on the backups, because those were regular.
somebody this weekend was trashing the Belmont club, and I'm like, you haven't been there. I know there's not like the backups the way they used to be.
Well, that was the whole entire thing. Our men's league used to play in 3+ hours. And now on Saturday, the last group will probably finish in 2:20, which is a long time. But when they're done, about half an hour later, we'll get back down to that 2-hour, 2:05. I mean, obviously it only takes one group. It's just like a traffic jam, but we try to do our best to maintain the pace of play.
So for the purposes of your formulating the budget, are you looking for a consensus on the fees tonight?
Yes, that would be ideal.
Okay, I am in favor. If that's what your studies and you're the resident expert, so.
Right. And the reason we did the 2 and 1 was we currently have the smallest disparity between resident and non-resident.
Mhm.
So by bringing that up, kind of what the standard is in the area to the $5 difference between the two made sense. And then obviously with all the big expenditures that we have coming up and improvements, we feel like the increase is justified.
Yeah, I don't know. John?
None whatsoever.
Pam, what do you think about the fee increase?
I'm fine with it.
No, oh, yeah, no, I'm sorry. Giselle, what do you think about the fee increase?
I'm good with the fee increase.
Consensus.
Here we go.
Are there any other changes that you see needed for the golf budget, or is everything seem okay? As presented?
Great job.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. So that concludes our golf and budget conversation for tonight. The budget will continue on October 2nd at that board meeting. We'll have the whole discussion of the overall budget that night, along with the property tax levy. So Trish will have a nice long presentation for you. That being said, she and I have discussed cutting it back some this year to keep it concise, keep it more high level. Trish did email the board. If you have time, we're offering some time to go over that budget. There's a lot of questions, a lot of detail that we can get into. We just cautious of everybody's time.
And it will come out on Friday.
No,
As
not
per
just
usual.
as-
Take it easy.
Any other questions, concerns about the budget? Hearing none, the next Downers Road Park District Board meeting held on September 25th, 2025. The Recreation Center Multi-Purpose Room. And commissioners, I'm going to ask for a motion to adjourn in closed session for the purchase or lease of real property or the use of public body, including meetings, for the purpose of discussion, whether on a particular parcel be acquired pursuant to 5 ILCS 20 of the Meetings Act, or the employment compensation needs, the discussion of pending possible litigation. Commissioners, can I get a motion, please, to go to adjourn into closed session? We will not be coming out for the record. We will adjourn from our closed session. So we have a motion. Is there a second? We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Dahlstrom?
Aye.
Mr. Bender?
Aye.
Ms. Johnson?
Aye.
Aye.
Ms. Wolf?
Bye.
We're adjourned.